There's a paradox that most people never think about. A paradox so fundamental that it changes everything about how you understand reality. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
We've been taught our whole lives that the physical body is the most real thing we have. It's solid. It's tangible. You can touch it. You can see it. So, it must be real, right?
But what if the opposite is true? What if the one thing you think is most real is actually the least real? And what if the thing you can't see, can't touch, can't hold, what if that's the most real thing of all?
That's the final paradox. And Darius J. Wright spent decades exploring out-of-body states to prove it. And what he discovered will fundamentally shift how you understand yourself, your power, and your freedom.
Because here's what Darius found. Your soul is more physical than your body. Not less physical, not spiritual in some abstract way, but more physical, more real, more tangible, more powerful.
And when you understand this paradox, when you really get it, something shifts inside you. Fear dissolves, limitations disappear, freedom becomes real, because you finally understand what you actually are.
So in this video, we're going to explore this final paradox with you. We're going to show you the evidence, we're going to walk through the logic, we're going to help you feel into the truth of it.
And by the end, you're going to understand why your soul is more physical than your body. And more importantly, you're going to understand what that means for your life, your power, and your freedom.
Let's dive in.
So let's start with the paradox itself, because it's important to understand what we're actually saying.
When we say your soul is more physical than your body, we're not saying something mystical or abstract. We're saying something very specific about the nature of reality.
Think about it this way. What makes something physical? Most people would say it has mass, it has weight, it occupies space, you can touch it, you can see it. So it must be real, right?
But what if the opposite is true? What if the one thing you think is most real is actually the least real? And what if the thing you can't see, can't touch, can't hold, what if that's the most real thing of all?
So when we say your soul is more physical than your body, we're not saying something mystical or abstract. We're saying something very specific about the nature of reality.
Because your body is limited. Your body is filtered. Your body is temporary. Your body can only experience one reality at a time, one location, one frequency. But your soul experiences reality directly without filters, without limitations.
So the paradox is this. The thing you think is most real, your physical body, is actually a filtered, limited, temporary version of reality. And the thing you think is least real, your soul, is actually the most real, most direct, most complete experience of reality.
Darius describes it like this. Imagine you're watching a movie on a tiny screen with terrible resolution. You think that's reality. You think that's all there is. But then you step out of the theater and you see the actual world, the real world in full color, full dimension, full reality.
That's the difference between your body and your soul. Your body is the tiny screen with terrible resolution. Your soul is the actual world. Your body is the filtered version. Your soul is the complete version.
And here's what's crucial. The soul doesn't just experience reality more completely. The soul is more physical. It has more substance. It has more presence. It's just a different kind of physicality than what we're used to experiencing.
Darius calls it energy physicality versus matter physicality. Your body is matter physicality, dense, heavy, limited. Your soul is energy physicality, infinite, unlimited, all-pervasive.
And energy physicality is actually more real than matter physicality, because matter is just frozen energy. Matter is energy that's been condensed and limited, but the energy itself, the energy is the fundamental reality.
So when Darius says your soul is more physical than your body, he's saying the fundamental reality of what you are is more real, more present, more tangible than the temporary form you're currently inhabiting. That's the final paradox.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that sounds interesting, but how do we know this is true? And that's a fair question. So let's look at the evidence. Darius spent decades in controlled out-of-body states, and what he discovered is consistent, repeatable, and profound.
First discovery: the moment you leave your body, you perceive instantly that the body is not you. You look at it lying there and you know with absolute certainty, that's not me. That's just a vehicle I was using. The real you, the you that's observing, that's your soul.
And here's what's important. In that moment, you realize something shocking. The body that you thought was so real, so solid, so physical, it's actually just a temporary shell. It's like taking off a suit. You realize the suit was never you.
Second discovery: the reality on the other side is more real than this one. Not less real, not a dream or an illusion, but more real. People who've had near-death experiences consistently report this. The other side is more vivid, more present, more real than physical reality.
And that's the proof of the paradox. If the other side is more real, and your soul is what experiences the other side, then your soul must be more real than your body. Your soul must be more physical in the sense that it's more directly experiencing reality.
Third discovery: in the soul state, you experience physicality without limitations. Darius describes it as all the pleasures of physicality without the constraints. You can feel touch, you can feel emotion, you can feel connection, but without pain, without limitation, without the filtering of the physical body.
So the soul is not some abstract, non-physical thing. The soul is intensely physical. It's just physical in a way that's more complete, more real, more powerful than the body.
Fourth discovery: the soul is all-powerful. In the soul state, you can manifest and create with your will. Darius discovered that thoughts become reality instantly. Intention becomes manifestation immediately. Because the soul is operating at the fundamental level of reality where consciousness and creation are one.
And that's the proof that the soul is more physical than the body, because the body can't do that. The body is limited by physical laws, by time, by space. But the soul operates at the level where those laws are created.
Fifth discovery: there are no barriers in the soul state. Darius describes it as you can feel the emotions of other souls directly, because there are no walls, no separation, no filtering. You're experiencing reality at the level of pure consciousness, and pure consciousness is more physical, more real, more present than anything in the material world.
So the evidence is clear. The soul is more physical than the body, more real, more powerful, more complete. The body is just a limited, filtered, temporary version of what the soul actually is. Now here's where it gets important to understand the role of the body. Because the body isn't bad, the body isn't wrong, the body is just limited. And that limitation is actually the point. Darius discovered that the body creates an illusion of loss. When you're in a body, you experience the illusion that you can lose things. You can lose money, you can lose people, you can lose your health, you can lose your life.
And that illusion of loss creates suffering. Because if you believe you can lose something, you're afraid. You're attached. You're trying to hold on. And that attachment, that fear, that trying to hold on, that's what creates pain.
But here's the truth. In the soul state, there is no loss, because you can't lose something that's eternal. You can't lose something that's infinite. The soul is untouchable, the soul cannot be harmed, the soul cannot be destroyed.
So the suffering in this reality comes from identifying with the body. When you think you are the body, when you believe the body is the real you, then you experience fear. You fear loss, you fear pain, you fear death.
But when you understand that you are the soul and the body is just a temporary vehicle, everything changes. Because then you know, I cannot be harmed, I cannot be destroyed, I cannot be lost. I am eternal, I am infinite, I am untouchable.
And that knowledge dissolves fear. Darius says the moment you truly understand that the soul is more physical than the body, the moment you truly believe it, fear simply disappears. Because what's left to fear? If you can't be harmed, if you can't be destroyed, if you're eternal, what's there to be afraid of?
And that's the liberation. That's the freedom. Not freedom from the body, but freedom from the illusion that the body is all you are. Freedom from the illusion that you can be harmed or destroyed.
Because the truth is, you are the soul. The soul is more physical than the body. The soul is eternal, infinite, untouchable. And that's not just philosophy. That's the fundamental nature of reality.
So the body creates an illusion of loss and suffering, but it's just an illusion. The real you, the soul, is already free, already eternal, already safe.
So let's talk about what happens when you truly understand this paradox. What happens when you really, deeply, completely understand that your soul is more physical than your body?
Darius discovered something profound. The moment you understand this, fear dissolves. Not gradually, not over time, but instantly. Because the fundamental fear, the fear of death, the fear of loss, the fear of being destroyed, that fear is based on a lie.
The lie is, you are your body. The body is all you are. When the body dies, you die. But that's not true. You are the soul. The soul is eternal. The soul never dies.
And the moment you really believe that, the moment you really know that, the fear simply evaporates. Because there's nothing to fear. You can't be harmed, you can't be destroyed, you're eternal.
Darius describes the process like this. When you go into the deepest, darkest places of fear, when you descend into the abyss of terror, you find something. You find a spark of light, a spark that never goes out. And that spark is love. And that love carries you through. That love brings you home.
Because at the deepest level, beneath all the fear, there is love. And love is the fundamental nature of the soul. Love is what the soul is made of.
So when you understand that your soul is more physical than your body, you're understanding that love is more physical than fear. Love is more physical than fear. Love is more fundamental than fear. Love is the actual reality. Fear is just the illusion created by identifying with the body.
And that understanding dissolves fear completely. Because you realize, I am love. I am eternal. I am untouchable. I am free. And nothing can change that. Nothing can take that away.
That's the liberation that comes from understanding the final paradox. That's the freedom that comes from knowing your soul is more physical than your body.
So now that you understand this paradox, let's talk about what it means for your actual life. Because this isn't just abstract philosophy. This changes everything about how you live.
First implication, you have more power than you think. Because your soul is all-powerful. Your soul can create and manifest with intention. And you are the soul, so you are all-powerful.
But most people don't access that power because they're identified with the body. They think they're limited. They think they're weak. They think they can't create. But that's the illusion. The body is limited, but you are not the body.
Second implication, you are already free. You don't have to earn freedom. You don't have to achieve freedom. You already have it. Because your soul is untouchable. Your soul is already free. You just have to remember it. You just have to stop identifying with the body.
Third implication, death is not real. This is huge. Death is not the end. Death is just a transition. Your soul never dies. Your consciousness never ends. You are eternal.
And when you really understand that, when you really believe that, It changes how you live, because you're no longer living in fear of death. You're no longer trying to hold on to a life that's temporary. You're living from a place of knowing you're eternal.
Fourth implication, love becomes your foundation, because the soul is love. And when you identify with the soul instead of the body, you're operating from love. Not love as an emotion, but love as the fundamental nature of reality.
Fifth implication, you stop suffering, because suffering comes from identifying with the body and fearing loss. But when you identify with the soul, when you know you can't lose anything that matters, suffering dissolves.
So the implications are profound. More power, more freedom, no fear of death, love is your foundation, no suffering. That's what happens when you understand that your soul is more physical than your body.
But here's the key. You have to actually believe it. You have to move from intellectual understanding to deep knowing. And Darius says that happens through contemplation, through meditation, through allowing yourself to feel into the truth of it.
Because the truth is already inside you. Your soul already knows this. You just have to stop listening to the mind that says you're limited and start listening to the soul that knows you're infinite.
So the question becomes, how do you actually access this understanding? How do you move from knowing it intellectually to knowing it in your bones?
Darius gives us several practices. First, meditation. Sit in silence and ask yourself, who is aware? Who is observing my thoughts? That awareness, that's your soul. That's the real you.
Second, contemplate the paradox. Really sit with it. Your soul is more physical than your body. What does that mean? How does that feel? What shifts when you believe it?
Third, practice identifying with the soul instead of the body. When you feel fear, ask, is this fear real or is it just the body's reaction? When you feel limited, ask, am I limited or is just the body limited?
Fourth, study the reports of near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, because these are direct evidence of the paradox. These are people who've experienced the soul directly, and their reports are consistent. The soul is more real, more physical, more powerful than the body.
And fifth, trust your intuition. Your soul knows the truth. When something resonates as true, when you feel it in your heart, that's your soul speaking. Trust that, follow that, believe that.
Because the truth of the final paradox is already inside you. Your soul already knows it. You just have to stop blocking it with doubt and fear.
And when you do, when you really access this understanding, everything changes. Your power returns. Your freedom becomes real. Your fear dissolves. And you live as what you actually are, an eternal, infinite, untouchable soul temporarily inhabiting a body.
So let's bring this back to where we started, the final paradox. Your soul is more physical than your body. Not less real, not abstract, but more real, more physical, more powerful.
And when you understand this, when you really get it, you understand everything. You understand your power, you understand your freedom, you understand why you never die. You understand what you actually are.
So the question for you is, are you ready to believe this? Are you ready to move from identifying with the body to identifying with the soul? Are you ready to access the freedom and power that's already yours?
And we want to ask you something. In the comments, share your biggest realization from this video. What shifted for you? What did you understand about the paradox? Because when you write it, when you speak it, when you share it, you're anchoring it into your consciousness.
And if this resonated with you, if this video helped you understand something fundamental about yourself, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because there are people in your life who are suffering from identifying with the body. There are people who are living in fear of death. There are people who don't know their own power. Share this with them. Help them understand the final paradox. Help them remember what they actually are.
And if you want to go deeper, if you want to understand more about how to access the power of your soul, how to live from your true nature, we have videos waiting for you. Right now on your screen, you're going to see two options. Choose the one that calls to you.
Because your journey to understanding your true nature, to accessing your real power, to living your authentic freedom, it's just beginning. And we're here to walk that journey with you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being open to this paradox. Thank you for being willing to question everything you thought you knew about reality. We'll see you in the next one.
Remember, you are the soul. The soul is more physical than the body. And you are free.